Hello, today we're going to make this pink princess plant, or pink princess inspired plant, and let's start by talking about materials. Now, disclaimer, you can definitely go for a larger yarn and hook than I did for a bigger plant if you want, but I'll tell you what I used for this little pink princess plant. Okay, so the leaves, we're using crochet thread, size 10 standard. You can find this everywhere in a lot of different colors. I just have pink and green. And you could totally go for 2 shades of green too if you want to get crazier with your colors. But what I do is hold 2 strands together, and at certain points I am holding 1 green and 1 pink strand together for this variegated look on some of the leaves. And with the 2 strands held together, I am using a 2.75 millimeter hook. Now that's for the leaves. And now what about the pot? For the pot, we are using a 3.5 millimeter hook, and this is Hobie 8.8 cotton. Now if you don't have Hobie 8.8, but you have Hobie 8.4, you can hold 2 strands of this together and use the same hook size, and it'll still work out to the same size pot. Here's an example. 2 strands of the 8.4 held together, or any equivalent size yarn that works for a 3.5 millimeter hook. Okay, now what about the stems? Now, I actually think some thick craft wire would be a sturdier option than what I did, but I did not have any, so here I will give you an alternative. If you have a backyard, you can go outside, find some flexible sticks, make them into a circle, and then once they're all dried out, you can start undoing the circle. You probably want thicker ones than this. That's really flimsy. But if you start undoing the circle, you'll get nice bent shaped stems, and that can it's kind of a nice way to easily get such a different shapes that look kind of natural flow to them, so I like that option. Now what about stuffing the pot? I upcycle scrap fabric, so that is what I'll be using, but you can use regular stuffing too, if that's what you have. Okay, and I have white and brown, and now we'll get started with the pattern for the leaves, because a lot of y'all can probably make this pot without watching a video. We will show a smaller leaf and a larger leaf. I'll just show those, and then I'll talk about the color changes that I did, but of course you could choose your own color changes. And then we'll talk about making the pot and putting everything together, attaching to this, these stems. Okay, I'll show you this leaf so you can get a color change example. And just a note, the first round of the big and small leaves are the same, so the small one is 1 round, and then the bigger one's just going to be 2 rounds. So I'll show you this, and it'll show you how to make a small and a big one. Okay, so to this, we're going to start with our 2 strands of pink. Okay, 2 strands of pink and my 2.75 millimeter hook, and I will just go ahead and start by making a slip knot, and now I will insert my hook and I will chain 4. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now into the first chain we made, we are going to make 6 double crochets. So I'll yarn over, I'll insert my hook into that first chain and make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, here are my 6 double crochets, and now I will make a treble crochet. So we're going to yarn over twice, and we're going to make that into that same stitch. So here I am making a treble crochet, and now we are going to chain 2, 1, 2, and this is where I want to switch colors, but I only need to cut one of these threads to switch to green because I'm going for that variegated look on this one. Okay, so I'm going to cut just one of these strands. There we go. And let's secure that loose one now. So I'm going to pull the loose one to see which is which. Okay, it's that one. And I'm going to pull that loose one through. Oops. Okay. And there is that. So we still have one strand connected, like this, and now we're going to add a green strand here. So you'll insert your hook into that previous chain stitch we made, grab your green thread, and you'll just pull it through. Okay, and then put your hook back on the other pink strand, and now you have this. And now you'll just keep working, and we'll work over those loose ends on the next round. So the next stitch in this pattern is we are going to make a single crochet into the second chain from our hook. Whoops, let me grab both strands of the working yarn. Okay, I've got both strands. Get those loose threads out of the way, and we're making a single crochet. Okay, and we've successfully attached our new color. Let's continue with the leaf. I am going to be making another treble, but this is going to be a little different. So into the same stitch, start making a treble, yarn over, and before we do that last yarn over, I'm going to take that loop off the hook, and I'm just going to insert my hook somewhere into the previous treble and put this loop back on, and then finish the treble. Rewind that if you need to, it's just to close this gap a little bit. Okay, hard part over. Let's make 6 double crochets now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now we will chain 2, 1, 2, and we'll do a slip stitch into the same stitch we've been working into. Okay, now if you were making one of these smaller leaves, like this one here, or this one, then this would be your small leaf. You would cut the yarn, leaving a very long tail for attaching to the stem. Okay, but we're going to continue with the big leaf, and if we're making one like this, we actually need to go ahead and switch back to pink. So I'll do that. So I will cut just the green, like that. We're gonna fasten off that green one. So we're gonna pull just the green thread through and tighten the green. But the pink is still open to us. And now we're going to grab another pink thread here, and let's go ahead and attach that. So just insert your hook, take your hook out, put it back through that slip stitch, and then pull your new pink thread through. that slip stitch we made. Okay, there's that, and then put the other pink loop back on. And now we have 2 pinks again. Okay, there's a lot of loose threads going on, and we want to actually gather up these loose threads so that we can be crocheting around them, so that we don't have to weave them in later. Okay, so I'm actually going to deal with the green loose thread on the green side, but I will be crocheting over these 3 pink loose threads. One was from this new join, and the other 2 were from when we first started. Okay, so remember you should see 2 chain stitches here. We're just going to make a single crochet into each of those. So here's that first chain stitch, and I'm single crocheting, going around all these loose threads as well. And then I will do another single crochet in the next chain stitch, and then we should be to all the double crochets we started making. So into this next one I will make 2 single crochets. So here's 1, 2, and then I'll do the same thing in our next one, 2 single crochets. Okay, there's 1 and 2, and I'm still crocheting around all these loose threads here. Okay, so now in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, we are making 1 single crochet in each of those. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we're going to make 1 single crochet into that treble crochet. There we go. And we'll make 1 single crochet into this chain stitch here. There we go. And now let's make a single crochet into this top to be stitch. Okay, and here you chain 1, and then this is where I am going to switch back to having 1 green strand. So I'm going to cut one of the pink strands and pull it through. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. And now I will grab another green, so I'll insert my hook into the chain stitch, and then I will grab a green and I will just pull it through, and then I will have both the pink and the green on my hook. Okay, and now these 3 threads I've been crocheting around, I think they're secure enough at this point, so I will just ignore those, and I'll ignore the 2 new loose threads that I just made by cutting the pink and adding the green. Sorry, there's a lot going on. Okay, but we are still going to crochet over some more loose threads. So these 2 right here and this green from earlier, I will just go ahead and set that like this so that I'm also crocheting over that, and then I'll be crocheting over these. Okay, and what we want to do is make another single crochet into the same stitch we made this single crochet into earlier. So 1 more single crochet in that stitch. Okay, and now in the next stitch, which is a single crochet, we're going to make 1 single crochet. In our next stitch, which was that treble, we will make a single crochet. Then we will make 1 single crochet into the next 4 double crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. in the next stitch, I'm going to make 2 single crochets, so 1, 2, and in the next stitch, I'll also make 2 single crochets, so, whoops, 1, and 2, and then in the next stitch, which is a chain stitch, I will make 1 single crochet, and then in the last stitch, which is also chain stitch, I will make 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the slip stitch that we made earlier. So slip stitch into that. Okay, now this is where you fasten off, but you want to leave a very, very long tail for at least one of these strands, depending on what color your stem is going to be. So here I have a pink stem, okay? So that means, well, here's what I'm going to be using for the stem on this. So let's look at the green, which doesn't need to be very long. We're just going to make it a little longer than this stem. And then for the pink, we're going to make it pretty long. If you run out of yarn when you're wrapping around this, it's okay. It's pretty easy to add more. But it's also just nice when you don't have to. So, long pink. Okay, we've cut them. Now let's fasten off by pulling through one more time and pulling it all through and tightening it. And this is our leaf, minus a couple ends we gotta weave in. So I will go ahead and snip all the ends that we already crocheted over. Okay, then there was these 3. And there was this one here, this green one. Okay, so once we've done that, you'll see you really only have 2 more ends that you have to weave in. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so I've went ahead and threaded them on the darning needle, and now I will just start weaving them in by going through some stitches here. And because this is like, you know, a decorative plant, I don't think you need to be like super cautious with how thoroughly you weave these in. It's kind of why we just crocheted over on top of all the ones that we could. For something that gets more wear and tear, I would definitely, you know, weave things in more thoroughly. But I think after this one, that's plenty of weaving, so I will just cut this, and then they're all weaved in. And then we can attach it to the stick. Okay, so I will go ahead and thread this long pink strand on the darning needle. Okay, it's attached, and now we're going to attach it to the stick. So let me show you how that looks on the underside. You can see I attached the stick, it's all wrapped around here, so the stick ends right where my fingernail is. That's kind of how all of these are. Here you can see it really clearly on this one, how we wrap it around the stick. And that's what we're going to do here. So I want it to be, oops. So it'll be attached like this on top of the stick, and then the bottom, it'll look like this, and we're just going to be wrapping it tightly around. So I will go ahead and go through a stitch on this side, and then I will go through a stitch on the other side. Okay. And then again, we'll go up, so it's getting wrapped around on the back, as you can see. So we'll go through another stitch on this side, and then one on the pink side. And you can see again how that is making it get wrapped around the stick, so I'll keep doing that. Okay, once you've gotten to the bottom of the stick, like right here, we're going to start going back up the stick so we can get back up here, wrapping around in that direction. Okay, once you've made the pink yarn back to the top of the stick, I like to go ahead and tie just a few knots here, maybe about 3 knots before I start wrapping it around the stick. This probably isn't necessary, but I just like to know that it's securely attached to the leaf. So there's a knot. Here is my second knot, and here is going to be my third knot. And now we want to carry this green yarn as we're wrapping the pink around. So I'm just holding it against it, and I'm going to start wrapping the pink yarn around the stick. And you'll keep going until you don't need to go all the way to the bottom because part of that's going to be hidden inside of the pot. So I'll just keep wrapping until I'm done carrying the green yarn because we're going to use that to tie a knot at the end. So I will run out of pink before I get where I need to be, so I'm just going to cut some more pink and show you how to attach it. Okay. You'll just want to do kind of like you've been doing with the green to get it nice and secure. So we're holding the new one against the stick and we're going to wrap the old one around it a few times to secure the new one. So just keep wrapping. Okay, and then we can now hold the old one against the stick and start wrapping the new pink around it. So you can see it's really not too difficult to secure a new thread for this step if you run out. So I'll keep wrapping again with the new one until I get where I need to be. Okay, so here's the height of the basket, and here's about where I will stop wrapping because this stick right here will be inside the basket. So like I tied a few knots earlier, I'm going to do the same thing with the pink and green just to secure this. Okay, I have tied about 5 knots so that this is secure, and now we just need to make 4 more of these, and I'll give you the details on colors if you want to make one that looks a lot like this. So we just made this one here. For the other big ones, I did one that was all pink. For this one, on the first round, I started with variegated, so a pink and green strand, until the halfway point. And then I just did all green for the rest. Okay, now for the small leaves, here, this one will have the most ends to weave in, even though it doesn't look like it would. We did 1 double crochet in all green, 2 double crochets variegated, 1 double crochet all pink, and then for the rest of the leaf it was all green. Okay, this one we started in all pink, and once we got a little past the halfway point, we switched to green. So it looks like I switched to green after doing the last treble crochet. And that's the color details for this. If you want to copy them, you can of course do your own color variations. Now I'll go ahead and show you how we do the pot. I won't make it a hanging pot though, because I honestly think this looks so cute sitting down. I'll have another video soon that is a hanging pot for a different plant though. So I'll show you the pot, then we'll do the soil plus attaching to the soil, and then attaching to the pot. Okay, the pot's really easy, so let's get to it. We're going to start by making a magic ring. I like my magic ring to be like doubled up, if that makes sense, so I wrap around twice like this, and then I insert my hook, and I make a chain stitch. Okay, inside this magic ring, we're just going to make 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 6. There we go. Now I'm going to tighten the magic ring. I will be joining with a slip stitch to the first chain stitch that we made. Okay, and then I will make another chain stitch, and now in each single crochet, all I will be doing is 2 single crochets into each single crochet around. So here's 1, 2, and I'll do that all the way around, so you should end up with 12 single crochets around for this round. Again, we are slip stitching to the first chain we made of this round, and now we're going to chain 1 to start the next round. And in the first stitch we will be making 2 single crochets, so there's 1 and 2, and then in the next stitch we just will be making 1 single crochet, and we'll repeat this pattern around, doing 2 single crochets in a stitch, and then in the next stitch just doing 1 single crochet, and after this you should have 18 stitches for this round. Again, slip stitch to the first chain stitch you made in the round, and then chain 1 to start the next round. In this pattern you will make 2 single crochets in the first stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So here's 1 single crochet in that stitch and 1 single crochet in this stitch, and as you repeat this pattern, once you get to the end you should have a total of 24 stitches. Okay, we will again join into the first chain stitch that we made, and we will start the next round with a chain 1. Now we will be working into the back loops only to build up the wall, so that gives it a nice shape that can kind of stand on its own here. You can kind of see where I started working into the back loops. Let me show you that up close. So you normally were working into both of these loops here. You can see where I put my loop through 2, but now we're just going to be working through the one on this side on the back. So I will insert it into the back loop only and make 1 single crochet. You can see that again for this, back loop only, 1 single crochet, and just work like that all the way around for this round. So you should end this round with a total of 24 stitches as well. Okay, we're going to end this round with a slip stitch into the first chain stitch that we made, and then start the next round with another chain stitch, and now we're back to working into both loops like normal, and we're just going to single crochet around, 1 single crochet in each stitch, and we have to do this for the next 4 rounds. So there's a total of 5 rounds for the basket walls. I'll show you what it looks like. On here, we can count them. Here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So meet me back once you have that. Okay, I'm at the end of the 5th round of the wall, so I'm going to do a slip stitch, but I am going to go through insert my hook into 2 different loops this time, just to make that last slip stitch feel more secure. And then this is the end of the pot, so we can cut this and weave in this end. Okay, once you have 5 leaves, I do 2 small and 3 big ones. You can start the soil. You'll need these before you can start the soil, because we will be inserting them into the middle. So just like for the pot, you start with a magic ring and a chain 1, and just like before, you will make 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So here is 1 and 6. Okay, and do not tighten this magic ring. Instead, what we're going to do is put all of these in the middle of the magic ring first before we tighten it. So you can see how I've just put that into the magic ring, pulling the loose thread at the bottom through as well. So just keep putting them through the magic ring, put all of them through. Okay, so you can see I've got all my leaves have been put through the center of this large magic ring, and now you can tighten your magic ring. So I'm just going to be doing that. Okay, my magic ring is tightened, and then you just want to position the sticks so that when they're sitting in... Okay, once you've tightened your magic ring, just move your sticks up or down so that they're all kind of touching the bottom of the pot and that the soil lines up nicely with the top of the pot. Okay, so once you have that, you're going to take some of these loose threads at the bottom here and wrap them around. And then the magic ring string you also can wrap around, and then we can just tie some knots to get this all nice and secure where we want it. So I will tie a few knots here, probably a lot. Just make them nice and tight. Okay, and then you should still have some wiggle room to turn these a bit if you want. You know, get them how you like them. Okay, once you have that, we're gonna finish this round just how we did for the pot. It's just gonna be a little messy now. But we will slip stitch to the first chain stitch, so you should still have a total of 6 single crochets for this round. So okay, I've got my hook into the first chain stitch, and I'm just slip stitching, and then the next round will just be a chain 1, and this is the first round. Round 2, it'll be just like this, and so will round 3, and only 3 rounds. So we had 6, 12, 18. You will stop after round 18. So just work it like you did here. You can rewatch this if you need to, and I'll meet you after those 3 rounds. Okay, after round 3 you should have the 18 stitches, and I'll show you how much thread you want to cut. So if you wrap this thread around your circle twice, so here's going around once with the thread, and here is twice, and then just go about halfway more, and if you cut right there you should have plenty of thread left over for sewing this to the pot. So I will cut that and then put that loop back on my hook here and pull this now loose thread through. Pull that through, and we have finished the soil. Now all we need to do is put this in the pot, but you might have a question. So we know this was 18 stitches, and where we finished our pot was 24 stitches. So what's a good way we could evenly sew this on? Well, I'll show you that next. Okay, so I'll be counting as I am sewing. I will be doing whip stitch. So I am going through just one loop here and one loop here, the 2 that are closest together. And this is the first stitch I am making. Okay, and then I will move on to the next one. So I'll be going through here, and then it's very hard to see since this is a dark brown, but I'll be going through here. So this is the second stitch that I am making. Okay, we're going to go through the next 2 stitches now. So we're going to go through one white one, and one brown one. Okay, one brown one. Okay, so that's the 3rd stitch, right? Now for the 4th stitch, you will go into the next white one. So here is the next white stitch, but for the 4th one you go through the same brown stitch you went to in the last one. So it's so hard to see right now, but I went through this last time and I'm going to go through it again for the 4th one, and that's because of the stitch differences here. So then you can start over with your counting. So we'll have 1 and 1 going through new stitches, same for 2 and 3, and then the 4th one you'll just go through the brown one again. And then as it gets, as you're running out of space, that's when you definitely want to go ahead and start stuffing. So I'll be stuffing and sewing. Okay, once you're sewed all the way around, it should look like this, and now we just want to make a few knots with this in the soil, and then weave it in and cut it. Okay, here is the one that we just finished, and the colors are actually slightly different than this one. If you can spot the difference, let me know in the comments. Also, like and subscribe if you would like to see more, and thank you so much for watching. Say bye, Julius.